in that
Mm,
background?
mm, mm.
Can
It's
they sit
interesting.
on your
Mm, mm,
couch?
mm. It's interesting that every time you start singing, I do the same stupid, like,
You do,
and
but
I'm
as
trying
long
to
as
like,
you know that it's stupid. So
yeah,
let's.
but okay.
I have a confession to make.
Okay. The fact that you preface, okay, I'm not even.
I have a confession to make. I came to the conclusion the other day that, you and I, we get on this little thing, we get on this little potty podcast, and we talk about each other's professions, right? We do.
Sometimes.
And a lot of times you will throw shade at my profession, okay? Because of the way things are depicted on film, television, right? We had an episode where you were mad about how birth is portrayed in movies and or television series,
Oh, it drives me
right?
nuts.
Wait, you hated it, right? We had a whole episode where we analyzed the birthing process of Homegirl in The Best Man Holiday. Like, we've done that, right? And I'm just
Mistake.
like, hey, Gina, relax, right? That's what I say. Like, relax, chill out. Like, that's what we have to do in the listen. But listen, let me tell you, we have really messed up. in, we in the television film industry theater, we have screwed up. And I'll tell you why.
Are you joining my team?
No, I am
Okay.
admitting fault
Okay.
to
So you're
something
joining my
in
team.
particular. I'm admitting fault to something that we do in particular in film and television. And you're going to be like, "Oh yeah, we do that." We are terrible at depicting the y'all call it the fourth trimester, right? Like,
Yeah.
that part stinks. Like,
No, no,
we
no, no,
don't
no, no.
depict that
It
at all.
doesn't stink. It's
It
non-existent.
doesn't exist. Doesn't
Non-existent.
exist. So here's the thing. So for the people that don't know, that fourth trimester is after the baby is born, baby's
Postpartum. People know
here.
postpartum.
Yeah, mom's trying to get herself together, baby crying all the time. The whole, if you are mom that chooses to nurse, then it's the
Mhm.
part where that's hard, the nursing
Mhm.
part. If you're any mom, whether you are a adopted mom, whether you got your baby through the surrogate, whatever, that period of 3 months right after the baby is born is like, that they consider that like the fourth trimester, right? And so
Right.
I begin to think, Dr. Gina,
Wow, and the
about all that.
smack.
Right, did you? And that was a clean one. I just
It was
That was clean.
it was professional.
I want my props for that one.
Yeah.
No, I was looking at some different shows, just kind of reminiscing on some different television shows.
Uh-huh.
Not only do we not like don't do the fourth trimester for
No.
real, we'll like skip over that whole we'll like skip over the whole like 9 months after the baby's born. Like, the next season you come back and the kid is like 2 years old. Like,
Well, first of
the
all,
kid's two
the
years old.
kid is born at 6 months, so
We're not going to talk about that.
Wait.
Kid is born.
No, you're right.
But no, the kid is born, and we see the kid born. Everybody's like, over the kid. Usually, the kid being born in a television show, especially, is like a season finale. Like, that's like everybody's
Yeah.
excited. You think of shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or even shows like Friends. I think that was like a mid-season sweep though. But those are like they're born. Everybody's excited about the kid being here. The Cosby
Mm.
Show. I think that the twins being born was a very like towards the end of the season, and then we leave that mom, and then by the time we come back, the babies are like 8 months, and
Mm.
then we
Oh,
leave the
please.
mom
The
again,
next season
and
they
then
come back, they're in 6th grade. Don't play. Y'all know how you do. 6th
we
grade.
do. But then it dawned on me, I was just like, we have zero investment in a baby. Like, babies aren't good for storylines. Like they don't do anything. If you have a baby in a storyline, like nobody wants to hear about the baby napping. Nobody wants to hear about tired mom. Nobody cares about like, your breast hurting because nobody cares about that. Like we want to skip to the fun, precocious 2-year-old that's smart mouth and telling everybody off. Like that's where we want to end up. So we give you the baby in the season finale. And then we and then we skip ahead. Or we do what Friends does, where we give you the baby, we skip ahead to the baby's first birthday, and then like baby disappears. I know.
Which I think in real life, there are some moms that are just like, the kid's still here. Like, that's not what I saw on TV.
Like baby disappears. Legit, the series finale of Friends, and for people, the series finale is when the whole show is ending, right? Mm-hmm. We actually went through this whole sheboing where Monica and Chandler, they like have a surrogate or whatever, but if everybody remembers, like Rachel and Ross had a baby like the season before. Legitimately, that kid disappeared for the rest of the Friends run. And even in the series finale, she was not there. Like there was no stroller. There was no explanation. And what made it weird was that everybody was it wasn't like, oh, she must be staying with a grandma or grandpa. Like none of that there was no explanation. It was just like, Ross and Rachel are back together. Rachel was going to move to Paris. She didn't have no baby with her. Like it was crazy. There was zero evidence of baby.
But that's your fault, but not your fault. Because because I think that you creatives, everyone in your field recognize that people don't want to see real life. We've talked about this. We have talked about the fact that, like, I don't want to see real life doctor stuff I'm going to see it at the hospital.
We will see it. We will see it at the hospital.
And, that being said, I think that there are people, though, that need to see it because they are trying to live Hollywood.
Listen.
And Hollywood is not what your life is going to be. It is not. So there is currently, I don't know if you're aware, there is a time period drama that is going on right now on Netflix. Well, not going on, because you know how Netflix does. They just drop 10 seasons and say,
I'm aware
destroy
of
your weekend.
Series. We are not going to name the series. I know which series you're speaking of.
Okay, we're not going to name the series. Time period drama. Mm-hmm. I watched the first season, but the first season basically was focused on, and first of all, if you all have not watched this time period drama, this is a spoiler alert. So anything that has to do with Duke and Duchesses. Can I say Duchesses?
Like, don't.
Anything with a really cute Duke, if you're watching it right now, you just now on episode 3, you can just go ahead and fast forward the next 15 seconds. Anyway. So this time period drama, it really focuses on one of the characters' desire. All of the characters have the desire to marry because that's just how it is in this culture, in this time period. Right. And they want to start a family because that's just what happens during this time period. Yes. And you go the entire season where this is the focus. And when I say the last 3 minutes of the entire season is this short third stage labor where this person is having this baby, she pushes once, baby comes out, everybody's happy, credits. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. We're not going to even deliver the placenta. We're not going to even have to deal with the whole mashing of the belly. We're not going to have to deal with that crazy bleeding and that crazy crying and the breastfeeding, everything. Like none of that. None of that.
Here's what's funny. I would be shocked if when that show comes back next season, when they drop however many new episodes they drop, if that baby, if they pick up where they left off. Like when they come back, that baby's legit going to be like walking. Like
nobody's going to be in high school.
Listen, but you know why though? Is because nobody, like even the show Blackish, on ABC, I'm pretty sure Bo has had a kid. Yeah. Like that was a whole storyline. I've not seen that kid. Like even the Christmas episode, they're opening gifts. Ain't no baby there. Like,
the nanny has a baby. The nanny has a baby. You just assume it. The nanny has a baby. I mean,
but there has been no established nanny. Like, see, here's the thing. If you're gonna, this is where good writing comes in, Hollywood. if we're going to, because let's be honest, think about all the shows where babies have shown up, where pregnancies have shown up, and it wasn't because the star in real life was pregnant, right? Okay. There are certain shows where they were just like, we have to write this pregnancy in because we have to explain away the fact that the star is obviously gaining weight. Okay.
Right.
Some stuff you can't avoid. Like even with, I keep going back to Friends, and here's what's funny. I'm not even a fan of that show, but that show is intriguing right away.
It makes me think you are.
I'm not. But here's what's crazy. So there was a storyline where Phoebe decided she was going to be the surrogate for her brother and help them, and she ends up getting pregnant with triplets or whatever. They had to, because Lisa Kudrow in real life, I think, was pregnant with her kid. Right. But she was like, there was no way they were going to be able to avoid this pregnancy. And so they wrote it in the show, so much so that even in her final trimester, when the show had to travel, I think to London or someplace else, she couldn't go because she couldn't fly. And so they had to record the show with her in one place and the cast in the other place. But that was a great way to write in a pregnancy, because she played a surrogate, and then they didn't have to write those babies in, right? Like those babies are away. I think they did an episode, and this is how I'm not a fan. I don't know if they had an episode, I think, where she babysat the triplets at one point, but they were not responsible for inserting them into a storyline, right?
Right.
But these shows where it's unnecessary for you to write in a pregnancy, you just know that you're running out of storyline and you need a pregnancy. Like, we need a pregnancy to get views. Who can we make pregnant? Let's make Rachel pregnant, right? And then they write the pregnancy in. It becomes a whole season's worth of everybody invested in this thing.
Right.
And then baby disappears, or we come back the following season. Nobody else is aged but the baby, right? Because
market difference.
Yeah, like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? OG Aunt Viv has the baby. They actually have a season where they, every once in a while, you see the baby, you don't see the baby, see the baby. And then the next season, Nikki is in kindergarten.
Right.
And Will and Carlton are sophomores in college. And you're just like, what is happening? Like, but again, we don't, as writers, nobody wants to write in the little things that have to happen when you have an infant in the house. Like, you can't complete a sentence where a baby's crying in the background. Like, nobody wants to write that in. We want the heartfelt speech from the mom. So what do? We make the kid 8. We put them in school so they don't have to be dealt with anymore.
I appreciate Marvel. You have, I think it's on Disney Plus, WandaVision. They have a TV series that's come out now, just specifically on the two of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of made up her own like television show, and it starts off with Leave It to Beaver, but it's interesting how each episode she's all of a sudden in a new time frame. But the thing that's so funny to me is she finds out that she's pregnant, and then literally within minutes she turns around and she's like at full 40 weeks gestation, and she goes into labor. This is all like in the same episode. She goes into labor and she has the twins, who some random person ends up walking in the house and delivering. What I think was so funny, and I don't know if they meant it to be funny, but I thought it was so funny that the kids, the next episode, somebody's babysitting the twins, and they're showing they're depicting exactly real life, where the kids are just crying and they're looking for the pacifier, and this goes on for 5 minutes. You would have been proud, Danita. Like, they couldn't get into work. They could not get the babies to go to sleep. So one of the neighbors come over and they're, putting the kids to sleep. And then, Wanda and Vision, they're talking. They're just like, do you hear that? And they're like, what? I don't hear anything. They go over and they look and they're like, there's no kids in the bassinet. They turn and they're 5-year-olds that are standing. Right. So then later on in the episode.
Oh, that's great.
Later on in this episode, they find this dog. They want to keep the dog. Vision and Wanda are like, well, we don't think you're old enough to keep the dog. We think that you need to be at least 10 years old. They're just like, okay. And before your eyes, they go from 5 to 10 years old. And I really think that that is what you all do.
Yeah.
WandaVision, they're doing it and it's purposeful, but you all do it and it's just disrespectful. I mean, first of all,
no, but I mean, let's be honest though. Again, you have to, when you're writing for anything, you have to write according to what works. You people want talking, coherent, intelligent children, right? It's very difficult. Number one, even if you're talking about series wise, a lot of people don't realize that in the production side of it, a baby on set is a nightmare.
A real baby.
A real baby on set is a nightmare, because normally what a lot of people don't realize is that the baby that you see, especially if they're dealing with infant, is usually a twin. Because babies, there is set rules about how long babies are allowed to be on camera or under the lights, right? So that's the first thing. You do what Full House did, where people went for years before they realized that Michelle on Full House was actually being played by two people. And Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, actually, that's how they got their start, was playing one character on Full House. And that's because they would put one person, they would put a twin in, she would do everything that she needed to do for however many hours that the, labor laws or whatever allowed for children to work in the Hollywood setting. And then when her time was up, they would switch her out and they would put the other twin in and be able to have them work. But if you realize how much that stalls production, having to worry about, or even when you have a series like The Cosby Show, where the majority of the cast are kids. Those early years of The Cosby Show, you had to make sure that the Cosby kids were actually in real school. So they would have to have these rehearsals or whatever, or even the filming, where filming took 3 days, because they were, the kids they would have to pause and make sure that, Tempest and Keisha and Malcolm, had however many hours of school that they had to have that day. So you can only imagine when you cast, when you have a baby or when you have a 3-year-old, no, bring the 10-year-old in that can tell us, hey, can we pause so I can go to the bathroom? Or the fact that they can read their own lines. They talk about when, one of my favorite stories is they talk about whenever they interview Raven Simone, and they talk about her stint on The Cosby Show. She didn't even remember.
She was super cute.
She was so cute, but she doesn't remember she has memories because she's seen the show, but not active memories of being on the show. Which makes sense, because she was 3. Think about your 3-year-old life.
She was only 3?
She was 3. She was 3 and 4 when she first started. Now, as she got older, she remembers those episodes. But I think even when the show stopped, she was like 5 or 6 years old. But when she started, she couldn't read. And so they had to feed her lines before every scene. And that's real sweet sounding. As the director, I don't want to put up with that. So what do? We either don't commit to showing the kid until they're, a readable 8-year-old that we can pass off as a 5-year-old,
right?
Which is done a lot. There's done a lot. You're like, wow, that's a really intelligent 5-year-old. No, that kid is 9 and short for their age.
That's a really, really cute infant. No, that kid is 1 year old, and I'm not going to let that go. Not going to let that go.
But that's what we do, because it's easier. It's easier to write that in. I realize that people have a misconception when it comes to babies based off of what they see on television. I had a friend that was like, they didn't realize that kids, when they're new, eat every 2 hours.
No.
They didn't know that.
What did they think? They ate 3 meals a day like adults?
I don't know what they thought. I know that they had this desire to have kids. They'd always wanted kids or whatever. And I made a comment. I was just like, yeah, because that 2-hour feeding schedule is ridiculous. And they were like, the what? I was like, the 2 hour, they eat every 2 hours. And I realized that their idea of what babies do was solely based on what they were seeing on television and not necessarily being around people that have kids, because a new mom doesn't want to hang out with you for 4 hours, right? So you're going to miss the fact that she's feeding the baby every 2 hours. I realize that maybe that is a slight disservice that we are, and now this, we're not talking about, I'm really talking about like sitcoms. I'm not necessarily talking about dramas, but dramas are just as bad. Like that dramas, I think, overdo the fourth trimester where, you're just like, oh, this mom is like, way far gone, and the baby, like, so if there's no balance, I think, for comedic effect the baby disappears and turns 5 in sitcoms, and for drama is easier because you can pretend like, oh, the baby's at the babysitter, I gotta go work.
But I think that there needs to, some of it is there does need to be more education about it, because there are many people, I think, that choose to believe what they want. Because I know I've told people, I've told patients, this is what you're going to experience after. But in the back of their mind, like, but that's not what I see on TV.
Mhm.
That's not what my friends talk about. Like, people don't talk about their experiences in the fourth trimester to their friends as much as they probably should. Because I think it would be more believable that, hey, you're not going to get any sleep. You're going to hate your life for a little bit. You might even like tinkle without with when you're going up the stairs. You might not want to go up the stairs. I mean, it's just, there's so much. You're not going to get that 6-pack unless you have surgical intervention. Like, I mean, there's just,
not everybody, because we'll get the people in the comments that said, hey, I saw this chick that did blah 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 blah. So yes, but that is genetics, you guys. Like,
genetics.
Honest. There is some genetic, because like there was a runner, but she literally, that chick was running like 10 miles a day up until like her last month of pregnancy.
Which that's a whole nother podcast. We can talk about that.
Dude, she was phenomenal, but she was an Olympian.
Right.
And then after the baby was born, that body popped back so fast, but she was an Olympian. So it's like, if you're not an Olympian.
Well, and that being said, it popped back so fast what we can see. That little tiny pooch, though, you're not going to see that in spandex.
Or even my girl, we're on her internet.
Who?
I appreciated that Beyonce told people, hey, no, it don't look like it. You're not gonna see me in some of them other outfits that you done seen me in before.
Oh, you mean after she had those twins?
After she had them listen, let me tell you something. I know about that twin non-slappage baggage. I know about that non-slappage of baggage. Because listen, and I was so thankful, because a lot of people were just like, ooh, Beyonce this, Beyonce that. And Beyonce's like, no, like, I have Spanx on. Like, literally, y'all. It looks gross. And I appreciated that, because unfortunately, all of the women that heard that were just like, oh, Beyonce has a regular body. It doesn't snap back. And I'm just like, but the regular people have been screaming. We've been screaming that it doesn't snap back. But Beyonce said it on television, and that made it,
And that, my friend, is why there needs to be more conversation about it, so that people can balance what they see on television series, and they can balance what they hear from their friends, and then a real life superstar can say, "Oh, but you know what? Your friend is right, and television is lying." Until television finds that balance of giving a little bit, or maybe not, because like I said, people don't want to see real life on TV. I mean, that's why they escape. That being said.
It's escapism, but go ahead.
It is escapism. That being said, is it different for the stage? Because I sure did go to a Christmas concert, Christmas pageant, and they had little baby Jesus on the stage with Mary and Joseph, and the choir started singing. And when I tell you that little baby Jesus was like, what I'm not feeling is the soprano and the altos, and went into a full out scream. And see, and it was it was there were high school students.
Oh,
so you have this high school Mary who's just like, baby, it screams. So finally you see these imaginary hands just kind of like come into the scene, take the baby, and then hand them this baby doll. Like, it was not subtle at all. I am dying laughing in my spirit, because I couldn't do it out loud. And I was just like, did they not recognize that this kid, like, was there not a
Listen,
bottle or
I
something
have
that looked like
done.
what would have been a bottle back in the day or a pacifier? When I
That's
tell
not what you
you
do.
baby Jesus was not having it, I don't know. They needed a
There
twin.
is no. Here's what you do. I have done many Christmas shows,
Mhm.
major productions. I've used a live baby Jesus every time. What's so funny is that I have had the privilege. I only had one baby Jesus that you probably would have been mad at. It was a 9-month-old. That joker was solid.
See,
But my other baby Jesuses were fairly
can we
new.
do
They were
that?
about
Can
six
we do
weeks.
that?
Baby Jesuses, I think so.
Uh,
My other baby Jesus that I've used in other productions were fair. They were like 6 weekers, 8 weekers, very small. Um, but the key to a baby Jesus is to, especially if they're nursing,
mm,
you have to time that nursing right before they appear on stage. I have literally, and this is going to be hilarious, and every baby Jesus mom that watches this podcast has been a baby Jesus mom for me. And I'm talking about the real mom, not Mary on stage, where
right.
literally we work it out where on a headset, I will tell my stage manager, make sure mom is nursing now. And we have on several occasions run backstage to mom who was nursing in private, literally taken kid off of the boob and handed it to the actress. So baby is in milk sleep on stage or very content because they're not hungry, they're dry. Like we make sure they're fed, they're dry right before I put them on stage. And you only keep them on stage for about maybe it's less than 10 minutes. It's a song. It's a song. I've done that. And now I had one production where I kept the baby on for like maybe 15 minutes. Baby slept the entire time. The baby slept so good that even Mary, who was singing in the baby's face, did not wake up.
Wow.
Yeah.
You
But
gave
you
that
but you
baby
nurse them.
Benadryl. You can say what
No,
you want.
no,
I don't
I
believe you.
didn't. I didn't. I learned very early that when you feed when you feed an infant, I'm not talking about like when a baby can be like aware and hold their own neck up. I'm not talking
Mhm,
about that. Those babies are impossible.
mhm.
But when I'm talking like that new baby, like you just got them shots, like you just got clearance to be out in public. Those babies do really well, like right after they're breastfed or right after they feed. But so I'm apologizing on behalf of the television film industry and the stage too. Let's just apologize for them for that. It's not like that in real life, y'all. Babies
It is
like
not like that
I'm
in real
telling
life.
you,
No. You
it takes 9 months for the baby to get here, and it takes about 6 years for you to be able to understand what that Joker is saying. Is that like
it's not
see
like that
this
in real life.
substance? It ain't like that in real life.
It is not like that in
It
real life.
ain't. It ain't like that in real life. They
It is
eat every 2 hours for the first like 8 months of their lives.
woo.
You're not gonna sleep. They don't talk. By the time you put them down for a nap, you tired. Like everybody's tired.
You're not gonna shower.
You're not gonna shower.
You're not
It's
gonna
okay.
be like
But
I I will never forget the time that I babysat your kids and they were not infants. They were grown. And I
yeah.
think I ate. I'm sure I did. I'm sure at some point I drank water. I would every time I went to the bathroom, they needed me. It was just like
Yeah.
a Auntie Jean, like no, like you were in the bed.
At
It's
least
two
they
o'clock in the
didn't.
morning.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That being said, to be fair to you, for everybody's just like I babysit all the time. You had 4 children to go from like no babysitting at all to babysitting 4 kids. Like that's a lot. Like at least I got to work up to the 4 kids. You got them all.
Oh, I said it when you and hubby came back in town. I was just like, I would rather be on call on a busy night.
Oh wow.
That was tough.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah,
But the payoff is awesome. Like I
the payoff is
can't even the payoff is awesome. Because they get to that point where they can actually articulate to you what they want.
So I just realized what happened. In
What?
television, they skip the yucky part to get to the part where there's payoff starts to become awesome at 5. See, that's what you all do. You wanna encourage matter of
Or
fact, I just realized you are helping my field out by making people not see what real life is, so they want a kid, and then they come to
okay, that's
us.
not what this
That's
episode
job
was supposed to be
security.
about. That's not okay.
Thank you.
I'm not even sure how we how we landed the plane there. We, I'm not even sure. Let's
You
get
know what?
this one.
This here, wow, this green screen in this water.
We are gonna discuss green screens in the next episode.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, watch this. You ready? You ready? Pat.
Why don't you just leave it up?
I don't know. I think it's I like tapping it in the screen. Pat.
You know what you should do? You should just pap it in the screen like every 2 minutes. I don't know, that might be a little distracting. Just like, you know, that might be a little distracting.
No, we need people to oh man, this is the thing. There it is.
Ooh, I got it on the first try.
Because it's below you. Like and subscribe
Oh,
to
yeah.
Scrubs and Stage Lights. In
And
the
play the
comment section,
piano.
tell us, listen, in the comment section, tell us about your favorite babies on television. What is your favorite babies on TV that were delivered and then turned into 5-year-olds? We won't even talk about soap opera babies. Listen,
Oh, no.
those jokers are babies for 10 years, and then the next day they're 36 with a Fortune 500 company. So,
Yeah, because they got to kill off the actor, so they have to have somebody to inherit all that money. Like,
we won't even talk about that. We won't even talk about that. Get this water. Get this water.
I actually mixed my sports drink with water. It's nasty, but it's doing its job.
It's no chrysanthemum juice. Anyway, I'll holler at you later, girl.
All right, girl.
Bye, girl.
Bye.